The message arrived on a Tuesday. It came through every radio telescope and deep space monitoring station simultaneously. Within hours, the news spread across Earth like wildfire. We were not alone in the universe. A galactic confederation, mumbled Frank Winters as he stared at the translated text for the 100th time. The NASA engineer rubbed his tired eyes and took another sip of cold coffee. The message was clear. 17 spacefaring species had formed an alliance, and humanity was being invited to join. Frank's small office at NASA headquarters was now the center of an international storm. Government officials, military personnel, and scientists from around the world crowded into the room as he explained the situation again. "They want us to send representatives to their centennial assembly," he said, pointing to the star chart projected on the wall. "Here, in the Ta City system. And they expect us to follow tradition by sending a delegation fleet to demonstrate our capabilities." Admiral Diane Carter, a tall woman with steel gray hair and a reputation for unorthodox thinking, stepped forward. "Every nation with space capability wants to send their best ships. The Chinese are preparing 3 vessels, Russia wants to send their new Zvezda cruiser, and the European Space Agency is rushing to complete their Galileo Explorer." The room erupted in a cacophony of voices. Representatives argued about how many ships to send, which nations should be represented, and what technology should be displayed. Frank watched silently, his mind racing. "One," he said finally, his quiet voice somehow cutting through the noise. "We should send just 1 ship." The room fell silent before erupting again, this time in disbelief and protest. "1 ship? That's absurd. We'll look weak. The Confederation will think we're primitive." Admiral Carter raised her hand, silencing the room again. "Let the man explain." Frank stood and walked to the star chart. "Look at the message again. It's too perfect, too convenient. They tell us exactly what to do, how to respond, what protocol to follow." He turned to face the crowd. When something seems too good to be true, it usually is. He pulled up the schematics for the experimental vessel Horizon, recently completed but not yet announced to the public. "This ship has our newest technologies, but we can make it look basic. We can add hidden compartments, systems they can't detect. If this invitation is genuine, 1 ship is enough to establish contact. If it's not..." He let the implication hang in the air. Admiral Carter nodded slowly. "A test run. We don't send our full capabilities. We send a scout." 3 weeks later, the crew of the Horizon gathered in the launch bay. Captain Samuel Green, a former Navy pilot with steady hands and a steadier mind, looked over his small but elite team. Dr. Olivia Mason, their diplomatic expert, reviewed first contact protocols. Chief Engineer Heather Ross ran final checks on the ship's systems, both the visible ones and those hidden behind false panels and radiation shielding. Security Chief Bill Taylor inspected weapons that officially didn't exist. Dr. Alan Porter, their xenobiologist, packed specimens that represented Earth's biodiversity, while communications specialist Lisa Grayson tested the advanced systems that would be their lifeline to home. "Everyone clear on the mission?" Captain Green asked, his voice serious but calm. "Represent humanity, assess the Confederation, and determine if they're telling the truth," Dr. Mason responded. "And if they're not?" asked Taylor. Frank Winters stepped forward from the observation deck. "Then you find out what they're really after, and you come home to warn us." As the Horizon prepared for launch, news channels worldwide questioned the decision. Why just 1 ship? Was humanity making a terrible mistake? Admiral Carter watched the preparations from Mission Control, her face revealing nothing of her concerns. "Sometimes," she said to no one in particular, "the best way to spring a trap is to step into it knowingly." The Horizon's engines ignited, pushing humanity's lone emissary toward the stars and whatever awaited them there. The Horizon sliced through the darkness of space, 3 weeks into its journey toward Ta City. Inside the ship, the mood was tense but focused. "Captain, I found something else," said Heather Ross, her voice echoing through the intercom. Captain Green made his way to engineering, where the chief engineer had opened yet another hidden panel. "What is it this time?" he asked, peering at the strange device nestled among standard power couplings. "Some kind of energy dampener," Heather replied, scanning it with her tablet. "It doesn't connect to any of our systems. It just sits there, watching." She looked up at Green. "This makes 17 modifications we found that weren't in the original blueprints." Green frowned. "Winters and Carter have been busy. Keep looking." Meanwhile, in the communications bay, Lisa Grayson monitored deep space transmissions. "I'm picking up signals," she announced as the captain entered. "Lots of them. We're approaching the edge of Confederation space." She adjusted her equipment, and alien voices filled the room. The ship's computer struggled to translate the various languages, but one message came through clearly. "The humans send only one vessel." "Unbelievable. They're talking about us," Lisa said. "Let them talk," Green replied. "Record everything." Across the vast distance of space, at the assembly gathering point near Ta City, the representatives of 17 advanced civilizations debated the approaching human ship. Just one vessel. The voice belonged to Elders Catal, a tall, slender being with iridescent skin who represented the Ardani, the most technologically advanced species in the Confederation. Either they misunderstood our invitation, or they are even more primitive than we expected. The Ardani delegation laughed, a sound like tinkling crystal. "Perhaps they are simply cautious," suggested a smaller figure. Ambassador Neve Ray of the Lysani. Her 4 eyes blinked in sequence as she studied the approaching ship's trajectory. "A new species encountering 17 unknown civilizations might be wise to proceed carefully." "Caution born of weakness is still weakness," Zukital replied dismissively. "Prepare the welcome protocols. If they bring so little to offer, we should be especially generous with our guidance." Back on the horizon, Dr. Alan Porter worked in his lab, studying the biological samples they would present to the Confederation. A message from Earth interrupted his work. His screen filled with Admiral Carter's stern face. "New intelligence," she said without greeting. "We've been analyzing the Confederation's message at a quantum level. There are patterns buried in the carrier wave that don't match the content." "Meaning what?" Porter asked. "Meaning someone's lying," Carter replied. "We found references to at least 3 other civilizations that were welcomed by the Confederation in the past century. All 3 showed rapid technological advancement after first contact, followed by sudden resource depletion and population decline within a decade." Porter felt a chill. "They're predators. Maybe. Or maybe they're just bad neighbors. Either way, be careful what you share." The transmission ended. In the ship's mess hall that evening, Captain Green gathered his crew. "We're 2 days from arrival," he said. "Time to discuss what we've all found." One by one, they shared their discoveries. The hidden modifications throughout the ship, the intercepted communications, the troubling intelligence from Earth. Dr. Olivia Mason, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke. "So Frank and Diane suspected a trap from the beginning. That's why we're alone. We're not an embassy. We're bait." "And a warning system," Bill Taylor added, checking his sidearm. "If this goes bad, Earth needs to know exactly what they're dealing with." Captain Green nodded. "From now on, we play dumb. Let them think our ship is the best we have. Let them think we're naive. Meanwhile, we watch everything and trust no one." As the meeting ended, Green stayed behind, staring out the viewport at the distant stars. Ahead lay the Confederation and whatever game they were playing. Behind lay Earth, vulnerable and unaware. "One ship," he whispered to himself. "Let's hope Winters was right." The horizon dropped out of its final jump point, and the crew gasped collectively. Before them floated a vast collection of starships, each one more impressive than the last. Massive vessels shaped like spirals, crystalline structures that seemed impossibly delicate, and ominous dark ships that absorbed rather than reflected light. There must be hundreds, whispered Lisa Grayson from her communication station. Captain Green kept his face neutral. Maintain course. Let's not act impressed. The Horizon moved toward the designated docking area, suddenly feeling very small and alone. Almost immediately, their communication system lit up with incoming messages. "Greetings, human vessel Horizon," came a melodic voice. "This is Central Coordination. Please proceed to docking Arm 7 for processing and welcome ceremonies." As they approached, an escort of smaller ships surrounded them, officially an honor guard, but the formation could easily become a cage. "They're scanning us," Heather Ross reported from engineering. "Surface scans only so far, but they're being thorough." "Let them look," Green replied. "They'll see exactly what we want them to see." The welcome ceremony took place in an enormous hall with soaring ceilings and walls that seemed to shift colors with the mood of the room. Captain Green and Dr. Olivia Mason represented Earth officially, while the rest of the crew was invited as cultural observers. Elder Zgetal towered over them, his iridescent skin catching the light as he spoke down to the humans. "We welcome Earth to the great confederation of worlds," he announced, his translator making his words sound unnaturally perfect. "Though your arrival is modest, we are pleased to accept your representatives." Dr. Mason stepped forward, her diplomatic training evident in her measured response. "Earth thanks the Confederation for its welcome. Our single vessel represents our united planet's desire for peaceful contact." A ripple of what might have been laughter moved through the gathered aliens. "One ship hardly demonstrates technological achievement," said another Ardani representative. "Were your people unable to spare more resources, or is this truly the extent of your capabilities?" Before Mason could respond, a familiar voice interrupted. "Sometimes wisdom exceeds capability." Ambassador Neve Ray of the Lissani approached, her 4 eyes blinking in that curious sequence. "I would be honored to serve as humanity's guide during these proceedings." "The Ardani traditionally mentor new species," Zgetal said sharply. "Yet I have already volunteered," Nevra replied with surprising firmness. "Unless humans prefer the Ardani approach." Captain Green recognized the politics at play. "The Lissani would be most welcome," he said quickly. Meanwhile, Engineer Ross led a tour of the Horizon for several Confederation technical officers. She carefully showed them the simple propulsion systems, the basic life support, all while secretly noting how their scanning devices probed deeper than diplomatic protocol should allow. "This is all very functional," said an Ardani engineer, not bothering to hide his condescension. "We focus on practical solutions," Ross replied with feigned humility. "Our technology serves our needs." Across the ship, Dr. Porter had set up his lab to receive biological samples from the various Confederation species. As he examined the first samples under his microscope, he froze. "Computer, verify this analysis," he commanded. The results were the same. Within the seemingly innocent biological samples were microscopic synthetic organisms, nanomachines designed to catalog, analyze, and potentially alter any organic material they encountered. They weren't just being scanned. They were being infiltrated. Security Chief Bill Taylor noticed something equally troubling. Every new species at the assembly had been assigned mentors from established Confederation powers. These mentors received unusual access to their prodigious ships, technologies, and databases. As the first day of ceremonies concluded, the Horizon crew met in their secure briefing room. "It's not a welcoming committee," Taylor reported grimly. "It's an intelligence-gathering operation." Captain Green looked at each crew member. "Then it's good we came prepared to be unwelcome guests." Lisa Grayson had not slept in 24 hours. The communications specialist sat in her small quarters aboard the Horizon, surrounded by portable equipment that wasn't listed in any inventory. Her eyes burned as she worked through another set of encrypted transmissions she had intercepted. "Got you," she whispered as the code finally broke. The data streamed across her screen. Internal Confederation communications never meant for human eyes. A soft knock at her door made her jump. Captain Green entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Find anything?" he asked, handing her a cup. Lisa nodded, gesturing to her screen. It's worse than we thought. Look at the pattern of new member species over the last century. The captain leaned closer, frowning at the data. Resource extraction agreements, technology licensing, cultural exchange programs that look more like population control. They're not allies, Lisa said. They're farmers. New species join, share their technology and resources, and slowly become dependent. The Ardani and 4 other founder species control everything. The rest are just servants. Meanwhile, in engineering, Heather Ross was finally understanding the strange modifications Frank and Diane had made to the ship. She had opened a hidden panel behind the main reactor to find a compact device unlike anything she'd seen before. This isn't public technology, she muttered as she scanned it. This is experimental, top secret. The device was connected to every system on the ship, but used no power and generated no signature. It was like a ghost in the machine. They knew, she realized. They knew we'd be scanned, analyzed. This ship isn't just simple looking. It's a lie. Across the massive Confederation station, Dr. Olivia Mason attended a diplomatic reception. She smiled politely at alien representatives, playing the role of an eager, naive human diplomat. But her attention was focused on Ambassador Nivra, who had maneuvered to speak with her privately. Your people are wise to send one ship, the Lysani said quietly, her 4 eyes constantly watching for eavesdroppers. The welcome ceremony includes a comprehensive technological assessment. The more ships you bring, the more they learn. We suspected something like that, Mason replied carefully. Nivra's skin paled slightly. My species was the 12th to join. We brought our entire fleet, 30 ships showing every advancement we had achieved. By the next cycle, the Ardani had replicated and improved upon all our unique technologies. Now we depend on them for the very techniques they took from us. Why are you telling me this? Mason asked. Because your approach is different. Because I see a chance for change. The Lysani ambassador glanced nervously around the room. The induction ceremony tomorrow includes a scanning process that maps all technological capabilities of new members. The information is later used to establish your place in the hierarchy. Back on the horizon, Dr. Porter had been working to understand the synthetic organisms and the alien biological samples. He finally looked up from his microscope, his face grim. They're not just for analysis, he told Security Chief Taylor. These nanomachines are designed to map human biology on a genetic level. Given enough time, they could be programmed to target specific genetic markers. Biological weapons, Taylor asked, his hand instinctively moving to his sidearm. Or targeted control measures, Porter replied. Imagine chemicals that only affect humans, leaving all other Confederation species untouched. The crew gathered again in their secure room that night. Each shared their discoveries, and the full picture began to emerge. So that's why we sent one ship, Captain Green said, understanding finally dawning. Not because we're weak, but because we're smart. Finished, Dr. Mason. We're not showing our hand. The day of the induction ceremony arrived. The great assembly hall glittered with light reflecting off crystalline decorations and the natural shimmer of many alien species. At the center stood a circular platform where new members were officially welcomed into the Confederation. Captain Green and Dr. Mason represented humanity, wearing formal uniforms that had been designed to look impressive but technologically simple. Behind them, the rest of the Horizon crew stood as witnesses, each mentally reviewing their roles in what was about to happen. Honored representatives of Earth, Eldard Skatal announced from his elevated position, "Today you join the great tapestry of galactic civilization. Step forward for the blessing of knowledge." As Green and Mason moved toward the platform, Heather Ross discreetly activated her tablet. Back on the horizon, systems that had remained dormant since launch quietly came to life. The ship appeared unchanged from the outside, but inside it was transforming. "The blessing of knowledge is our highest welcome," Skatal continued. Your vessel will be briefly illuminated by the light of unity, allowing us to fully appreciate your unique contributions to our shared future. In simpler terms, they were about to scan the horizon with every sensing technology the Confederation possessed. "We are honored," Mason replied with practiced humility. She gave a subtle hand signal to the crew. The light of unity began as a soft blue glow that surrounded the distant horizon. Dozens of Confederation ships positioned themselves around the human vessel, focusing their sensors in a coordinated effort to strip away every secret. On the horizon's bridge, automated systems responded exactly as Frank and Diana had planned. Certain areas of the ship became completely transparent to scanning. Others deflected the probes in ways that seemed like simple technology. And the most important sections, hidden behind layers of experimental shielding, remained completely invisible. In the assembly hall, confusion spread among the technical operators. Elder, one of the Ardani technicians, called out, "We are experiencing unusual reading patterns from the human vessel." Skull's iridescent skin darkened with annoyance. "Clarify. The scan is incomplete. We can see some systems clearly, others are. It's as if parts of the ship simply aren't there." Elder's Ketal turned his penetrating gaze on Captain Green. "Is your vessel damaged? Our scans detect inconsistencies." Green maintained a neutral expression. "Our ship is functioning perfectly." "Then why can we not complete a proper assessment?" Ketal demanded, diplomatic pretense falling away. Dr. Mason stepped forward smoothly. "Perhaps our technologies interact in unexpected ways. We would be happy to discuss technical details after the ceremony." While this exchange continued, Security Chief Taylor had slipped away from the main hall. Following intelligence gathered by Lisa Grayson, he made his way to a restricted area of the station. There he found what they suspected: equipment being prepared to attach to the horizon during the post-ceremony celebrations. "Captain," he whispered into his hidden communicator, "they're planning to install monitoring devices on our ship. At least 20 different systems." Across the station, Dr. Porter and Lisa Grayson had used their ceremonial access badges to enter the Confederation's historical archives. With the majority of attention focused on the induction ceremony, they moved quickly through restricted databases. "I found it," Lisa said, her voice tight. 17 previous civilizations. All went through this same blessing of knowledge. All had their technologies completely mapped. "And after?" Porter asked, scrolling through the data. "Resource extraction treaties, population management programs, technology licensing agreements heavily favoring the founding species." She looked up, her face pale. "Within one generation, every new member became dependent on the Confederation. Those who resisted were helped to see reason." Porter finished, reading from the screen. "They weren't building an alliance. They were building an empire." Back in the ceremony hall, Ketal's patience had clearly reached its limit. "This is unprecedented," he declared. "The human vessel must submit to proper inspection before proceeding." Captain Green met the Elder's gaze steadily. "I'm afraid that won't be possible." "You have no choice," Ketal said, his voice dropping to a dangerous tone. "The ceremony has begun. It does not end until we have what we require." The assembly hall fell silent. Representatives from all 17 Confederation species watched the confrontation between Elders Ketal and the humans with growing interest. "You will submit to complete inspection," Ketal repeated, signaling to guards positioned around the hall. "This is not a request." Captain Green touched the small communicator on his wrist. "Horizon, initiating Protocol Omega." Throughout the station, the Horizon crew activated their emergency recall devices. Within seconds, they vanished in flashes of blue light, transported back to their ship through technology that no one in the Confederation had detected. "Impossible," gasped an Ardani scientist. "Their transportation technology." On the ceremonial platform, only Green and Mason remained, facing the increasingly hostile Elder. "What trickery is this?" Ketal demanded. "No trickery," Green replied calmly. "Just preparation. On view screens throughout the hall, the image of the horizon changed. Panels that had appeared to be simple hull plating reconfigured, revealing weapons systems and technology far beyond what the Confederation had detected in their scans. "You concealed your true capabilities," Skatal said, his voice a mixture of anger and grudging respect. "A dishonorable approach." Dr. Mason stepped forward. "Is it dishonorable to protect yourself from predators? We know what the Confederation does to new members. We've seen your historical records." "Detain them," Skatal ordered. "Secure their vessel." As guards moved toward the humans, Mason raised her hand. "I wouldn't recommend that." On the view screens, dozens of Confederation ships moved to surround the horizon. But before they could act, the human ship activated defense systems that no scan had detected. A shimmering energy field expanded outward, gently pushing the approaching vessels back without damaging them. "We came prepared for this moment," Green explained. "Earth sent one ship not because we're weak, but because we're cautious. And our caution was justified." Lisa Grayson's voice came through the station's communication system. She had hacked into the Confederation's network from the horizon. "Attention all Confederation representatives," she announced. "We are broadcasting evidence of the systematic exploitation of new member species by the founding powers." Throughout the assembly hall and across every ship and habitat in the system, screens displayed the historical records Porter and Grayson had discovered. The evidence was undeniable. 17 civilizations, each welcomed, scanned, exploited, and reduced to client states. Ambassador Neve removed to stand beside the humans. The Lysani have suspected this for generations. Now we have proof. Other representatives from the newer member species began to stir, their anger growing as they saw the pattern that had trapped them all. Skatal's skin darkened to a deep purple. "This changes nothing. Your single ship, no matter how advanced, cannot stand against the combined might of the Confederation fleet." "Our ship doesn't need to fight your fleet," Green replied. "It only needs to survive long enough to send a message home." Engineer Heather Ross's voice came over the communication system. "Captain, the quantum transmitter is ready." On the view screen, a new device emerged from the horizon's hull. A communication array unlike anything the Confederation had seen. "This is the real reason we came alone," Dr. Mason explained to the assembly. "Our ship contains just a fraction of our technological capabilities, enough to gather intelligence and report back. Everything happening here is being transmitted to Earth in real time." An image appeared on the screen. Admiral Diane Carter standing in a command center back on Earth, watching the events unfold. "Elders Skatal," Carter said, her voice sharp and clear across the vast distance. "We came in peace, but prepared for war. Your scans found what we allowed you to find. Your threats mean nothing. Earth is ready." Around the assembly hall, representatives from the newer Confederation species moved away from the Ardani and other founding powers, gravitating toward the humans and the Lysani. Skatal looked around, seeing his control slipping away. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "What do we want?" Captain Green repeated Skatal's question. "We want what you promised in your invitation. Genuine cooperation between species, not exploitation." The assembly hall had transformed into two clear sides. The founding species clustered around Elders Skatal, while the newer members stood with Ambassador Nifra and the humans. "Release our ship," Green continued, "and let us leave in peace. Then we can discuss real alliance terms, as equals." Skatal's skin rippled with barely controlled rage. "You have no leverage here. One ship, no matter how advanced, cannot escape our combined fleet." "We don't need to escape," Green replied calmly. "We just need to demonstrate why sending one ship was enough." On the view screen, the horizon suddenly changed. Panels opened across its hull, revealing systems that had remained hidden even through the Confederation's most invasive scans. The ship began to glow with energy readings that made the Ardani scientists gasp. "Impossible," one whispered. "Those power levels would require technology you don't have," Finished Heather Ross, her voice coming through the communication system. We kept our best advances to ourselves. Smart, right? Dr. Mason stepped forward. While you were trying to scan us, we were scanning you. We know the capabilities of every ship in your fleet, and none of them can match the Horizon. To prove her point, the Horizon suddenly accelerated, moving faster than any Confederation vessel could track. It appeared on the other side of the station in seconds, then returned to its original position. Our propulsion technology, Green explained, just one of many systems we kept hidden. The image on the view screen changed to show Frank Winters and Admiral Carter in Earth's command center. Elders Skeetal, Frank said, speaking directly to the Ardani leader, we suspected your true intentions from the moment we received your message. There were subtle inconsistencies, patterns that suggested deception. So instead of preparing a ceremonial fleet to impress you, Admiral Carter continued, we invested those resources in defensive measures across our solar system. Earth is not defenseless. The Horizon was never alone. On screens throughout the assembly hall, images appeared showing Earth's orbital defenses, hidden fleets, and planetary shield technology, all developed in secret, all more advanced than the Confederation had imagined. We sent one ship, Frank explained, because one ship was enough to expose your trap without risking our true capabilities. Ambassador Never stepped forward, addressing the entire assembly. For too long, the founding species have used us, taken our resources, controlled our development. Today that ends. Representatives from 12 of the 17 Confederation species moved to stand with her, their collective stance clear. What happens now? Asked Skeetal, his once dominant tone now uncertain. Now we rebuild, Nevro replied. A true alliance, based on mutual respect, not exploitation. Captain Green nodded. Earth would be honored to join such an alliance. We have much to share with partners who deal honestly. The Horizon broke away from the station, positioning itself beside the Lysani flagship and vessels from other former Confederation members. When you suspect a trap, Green said to Skeetal, you don't send your entire hand. You play a single card and watch how the table responds. Within hours, a new coalition formed among the liberated species. The Horizon served as their meeting place, a neutral ground where centuries of inequity began to be addressed. Earth offered fair technological exchange and actual alliance rather than subjugation. 3 days later, the Horizon prepared to return home, its mission complete. Why did humans send only one ship? Ambassador Nevre asked Dr. Mason as they said their goodbyes. Mason smiled. Because sometimes one is all you need. As the Horizon departed, its crew looked back at the transformed political landscape they had created. Their single ship had accomplished what no fleet could have done, exposed the truth, broken the pattern of exploitation, and forged a path toward genuine cooperation among the stars. Frank Winter's strategy had been perfect. One ship, appearing vulnerable but hiding strength, had changed the future of humanity and 12 other species. Just one ship was exactly enough.